We're in a general election year, and we've also been running the Digital Democracy Commission work this year as well. So there's been a lot of focus on actually how effective Parliament's been. And so in the run-up to the general election, we thought it'd be great to do accountability hack and hold our elected representatives to account to some extent. The big challenge is to take an organisation that next year is almost 800 years old and move that into a digital world. So we're a very print-focused organisation. All of our products and processes are focused around printed paper. And so kind of re-engineering that in a digital from the outset way is kind of what we're trying to do. So the more that we can learn from people at events like this, the better, because we can take those ideas back and feed that into how we actually create a bit of a revolution around this in Parliament. I think quite often people struggle to understand, what Parliament's role is, what government's role is, how other organisations fit into the mix. And so I think by joining forces with the National Audit Office and the Office for National Statistics, we add a bit of wider context to it. So it's a bit more user-focused. And it's great to be able to take our data and to look at that alongside the data that others produce in a much more kind of user-friendly way.
Well, one of the things at the moment is the NEO's been an element of being inwardly focused. And events like this, the idea is to try and get more of an external perspective on what the NEO does. So it's kind of a nice challenge to the NEO to raise its game. I think the thing for us is the element of encouraging innovation. And when people talk about innovation in government, we can talk about it with a bit of authority because now we've been involved in it. And I think that's what people, do like when they hear about other departments organising hacks or issues around data or what a developer is or what developers do. It's nice that people at the NEO can say, yeah, we know that because we've been doing it ourselves.
The great thing about sort of open data is that the ONS can only produce so much in terms of end user visualizations. We only have a finite number of people that are working on producing these infographics and bulletins and stuff like that. But by opening up the data, if we can find more ways to visually, for other people to convey the data, maybe if you didn't understand it the first time, but you see 4 or 5 different ways that somebody's visualized it, that'll help people to understand. So it'll generally improve the population's understanding of the statistics and the data behind it.
We are using the ONS dataset for census data. We are building something around housing, homelessness, and also the proportion of social housing that is sold. We have pulled out quite a few bits of data from census, and we've also pulled some other data from DCLG, from gov.uk, which was just in kind of documents intended for human eyes, so we've done quite a lot of reformatting of that. So the point of the project is to show per local authority how many people they have who are considered homeless, how much social housing they have, and also how much of that social housing gets sold off every year.
There's talk about the API economy and microservices are based around API. And the NEO hasn't got one at the moment, so even just by getting a working version from this weekend is something to show to other people and saying, well, this is the potential of doing this with more of our information and data. And, just a bit of a stimulus and a catalyst to do that kind of thing.
We've been working on a project to explore data surrounding PFIs. We're entering the National Audit Office challenge, and we're hoping to draw together several data sources in order to understand PFIs better and display that in easy to navigate site. I think this would be useful for interested citizens because there's more of an awareness now surrounding PFIs and how with them being long-term contracts, the citizens do have an interest in making sure they're managed properly.
The level of support and enthusiasm and engagement we get from the developer community always amazes me. People are willing to give up their time at the weekend, especially when they've kind of been developers all through the week in their day jobs. They come in at the weekend and they build things and play around with our data, and they give it their all, really. You always see things you could never have imagined yourself. So, I think in 2014, in the 21st century, organisations have to recognise that it doesn't matter how much talent they have within that organisation, there's always other ideas and more talent outside. So for us, having developers come up with things we just never would have thought of. I'm always surprised. There's always the thing that somebody's built and comes along and presents and you think, wow, I just never thought of that, but now it seems so obvious.
We're doing a child's guide to Parliament that's based on the data that's coming out of Parliament. So they're going to see a bit of text about Parliament, it tells them a bit about it, including some videos from the Parliament website, which are really good and very nicely explanatory. But also they're going to be asked to think about what things they are interested in and be able to see what MPs and Lords have been saying about those things. And we also have the ability to go and look at individual MPs and find out more about their interests, so you can try and see whether they match with yours. And then Katie's putting together a quiz in Scratch, so they'll be able to test themselves against their knowledge that they've just learned from the website about their knowledge of Parliament.
I think there are plenty of people in government who could make better decisions if they had easier access to data. There are lots and lots of reasons why data helps people both internally in government organisations and externally, but it also allows us to do things like armchair auditing, to be able to actually say what information is there out there. I think this is a problem, let's validate with this with the data that we've got. I think it helps everyone, not just people in tech, but also just people doing their jobs every day, to have access to that data revealed in a nice, user-friendly, human way.
These events specifically have built momentum inside Parliament to do something different. So this year is the first time that parliamentary ICT have really got fully involved, which is fantastic. We've had our data team here for both days, helping other people use our data but also building stuff themselves. And so to take that back into the organisation, it just creates momentum and it creates enthusiasm and energy inside to do something different.
We've built PFI Explorer, which is taking the data that's currently available and putting it all into one place. So just to take an example from our data, we learned that in 2017 we'll be paying 10 billion in interest just in 2017, and that works out to about £300 a head for everyone sitting here and everyone else in the country. To put it in comparison, it's about half our education spend, the equivalent on these interest payments, so it's very important.
So I was very lucky to get to award the ONS prize to PFI Explorer, which I think was fascinating on a few different counts. It was a team that really came together over the course of this weekend. They didn't know each other beforehand and apparently still didn't know each other's names at lunchtime today, which is quite impressive in itself. And the concept of bringing all of that different information together and giving PFI contract a unique identifier, so we can really see what that's costing us as citizens over the course of its contract. And so I'm really excited to see what they do next with it as well.
I've developed this thing called Polyengrams, which is a search and analysis tool for Hansard. Things we can discover from this is, for example, what this shows is basically the frequency of a certain word over the years. But the best thing is actually comparing things. For example, if you search for benefits and plot them versus welfare, you find out that welfare and benefits started like pretty much with the same amount of frequencies and then diverge.
My category, the Parliament category, I thought was really inspirational. We are struggling as an institution to connect with the public. We are particularly struggling with the community who are very active online, and this is a great bridge for us to take some of these ideas and actually implement them.
We were looking at housing in the UK and particularly homelessness, how much social housing is available, and also how many social housing pieces of social housing actually get sold off every year, so people who have the right to buy their own properties when they've lived in them for a certain period of time. So one of the key challenges here was actually to show the data in a nice way. We used the census data and we also used some stuff from DCLG, but we wanted to show comparisons for the national average and also just the key data from regarding housing and homelessness in that area.
The category that I had the pleasure of announcing the winner of was around the Office of National Statistics. And the overall standard was really high, really fantastic, all sorts of different perspectives and angles taken, but there was a really clear winner, and that was a project called Right to Buy, which really brought home to people the state of social housing in the UK, using a range of very specific different data sets from the ONS, from Census, from Department for Energy and Climate Change as well. The reason it won was the simplicity of the idea and the execution of the idea being really rather beautiful, and all the judges felt you could see it as a project that could kick off a debate with meaningful data behind it that could genuinely enlighten the political discourse of this country. So it was a very clear and easy winner.